Okay, so moving on, and Adam, we have your team now for GW21. If you could read it out for the podcast listeners and let us know your thoughts going into the coming game week.
Oh, right, I've got to go back to my team. So my tragic
Go on.
lot. So I've got a choice between Johnston and Meslier. Meslier. I'm going to go with Johnston because I think Big Sam is going to want a clean sheet. It's going to happen at some point. It's bad, but I think they've got Fulham at home, and Fulham I don't think offer loads in attack. So I think the next two, Fulham and Sheffield United, are probably the ones they will absolutely target for the clean sheet. So, and I fancy Leicester to score. So I will go with Johnstone in goal. I then have Diaz, Justin, and Robertson at the back. Midfield at the moment is Rafinha, Salah, Son, and Fernandez. And then I've got Watkins, Bamford, and who else? Oh, and
Antonio.
Antonio. Yeah, happy with one of the few players I'm happy with.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think I will take at least a -4 this week. Um, I'm interested, so please comment in the chat about options because I'm open to all ideas. I think I don't have at the moment enough Man City coverage, so the obvious move, and I think I probably will do this, is to bring Gundogan and Cancelo in, and then it's just who do I take out, whether it will either be Souček or Rafinha. And I actually did really like the post that we read earlier, and it's made me think. I think with Souček, I think he's a good player to have, and he's fairly cheap, but it's just gonna lead to a lot of bench points, and that's frustrating because he's so difficult to predict, and you have to, like, I think you have to start him every week, and he's not my sort of player because he just gets a lot of his goals come from set plays or from those type of things, and it's just so hard to predict. I like players that are consistently producing the numbers. And whilst Rafinha isn't doing that, I liked his performance against Newcastle. So I've got a decision to make there. But either way, whoever it is, they'll probably be on the bench. So I think I will take out. I'll probably keep Robertson. So I'll take out Holding and either Rafinha or Souček. So that, and then it gives me 3 City, and that's ultimately, I think I need that. The areas that I'm worried about, I prefer Mane over Salah, but that's not a pro. Like you said, it's not. I've got other issues. I'm gonna have
And
to keep
Mane's
Son.
ownership as well, right? He's not going to
Yeah, exactly.
punish
And I
you with
might,
his ownership.
and I can potentially do that move next week. I think Son is fine. He could easily do well, and he's the sort of player that can score against anyone. Unlucky last night. I like Bruno. I think he could be overlooked this week for captaincy. I've just basically said he should captain everyone now. So, and then I've got, I think my strikers, I'm happy with Antonio and Watkins. The one spot that I'm not happy with is Bamford, but I might start in v Leicester because I remember watching the reverse fixture and he had 3 big chances against them. And his XG was ridiculous that night.
Yeah.
He should have scored. And if with Ndidi out, I think you know it, I think the game could be closer than people are calling. I think Leicester will win, but I don't without Vardy
Yeah, I
and
agree.
potentially Evans. I
Well,
don't think
apparently
Leeds are
Evans is fit.
shot.
Sorry, Evans is fit, but Ndidi's not. We had some comments
Well,
in the
I think
chat. I'm
indeed,
sure.
indeed is the one for me that and that is really really influential on that team. And I think Leicester aren't as good without him. So I think whilst I would like to have Calvert-Lewin, I'm not sure taking a -8 to get him in is sensible. I think because Bamford is capable of scoring, and I might just give him one more go. What would go on? Sorry, I was going to
I
say.
think no. In terms of specific transfers and stuff, it all makes sense. I think my only concern with not bringing in someone like Calvert, if you think Calvert Lewin's going to do well, right? I'm not saying do it because everyone else is
Yeah,
doing it, and whatever else. But it just means again next week you're a week behind the curve, and you'll probably have to make another hit. But you're still only getting your team up to where you want it to kind of be. You're never on the front foot. Is my only
yeah,
is
you're
my
right
only thing.
because Yeah, you're right, because actually, if I'd have taken the hit last week to bring Cancelo
This
in, I wouldn't be
this is
thinking about it this week.
you'd
And I
already
think,
have him, and now you'd be moving ahead. Whereas,
yeah,
but booking in
it,
transfers week on week, it doesn't. I and I know because I did it last season. I did it every week. I kept bringing in the player that everyone else brought in the week before, and it really punished me all season. And I'm determined this year stay on the front foot.
I think if I brought Calvert-Lewin in, the one plus about potentially keeping Bamford is that if I was to not wild card, I think they have they're likely to double in 26 and play in 29, and that could be a big plus of keeping Rafinha and Bamford. But then that's still quite a while away, isn't it?
8 weeks. Well,
And actually,
29 is 8 weeks down the line.
Everton could double, couldn't they? So, yeah. Do you know what? You might have talked me into a -8. I think that, again, this is mind games. I'm not. I don't know whether.
Like in terms of specific ones, I'm thinking if you think the Calvert-Lewin is going to hit the ground running, and he can have a better fixture than home to Newcastle, right? If you think he's going to do well this weekend, I would personally do it. But I'm keeping Bamford. I'm not sure if I'm starting him yet, but I personally don't think that the Bamford is spent either. So please don't do it on my account. But I would say is structurally get to where you want to be.
Yeah, I don't think Bamford's spent at all, and I don't think Leeds are. But I like Calvert-Lewin versus Newcastle,
and Everton may well have a double in 24 as well. It hasn't been sorted out yet, but that's something to think about as well, which is obviously before the Leeds ones you're talking about, right?
Yeah, but I think bringing in Gundogan and Cancelo, I mean, is a bit of a no-brainer. I can't see any argument.
No.
I think we discussed it earlier, but I can't see any argument not to bring them in. I think, so, and then the captain's an interesting one. Should we leave the captain?
Yeah. We'll
cover it later.
Yeah. Okay.
Go on then. Let's go through. Your team's probably one step ahead of mine at the moment.
Well, a couple actually, but yeah. So I've got Martinez. I've got Martinez in goals at the moment. I'm going for Martinez over Johnston. So West Brom at home have just conceded 5-3, 5-3 or whatever it is at home.
If I had Martinez, start him over John. Southampton have actually been a little bit toothless attack wise as well.
Yeah,
so
agree.
And the other thing to add is that Villa, they got a bit of a bollocking for their defensive performance the other night.
Yeah.
So I would definitely go Martinez over Johnson.
I personally think Southampton will score, but I think that still Martinez is probably more likely to keep a clean sheet than Johnson, which I'm going for him. So I've got Diaz and Cancelo. I've also got Justin, who I bought a few weeks ago, who has been superb for me. So happy with that at the moment. At the moment, I've got a midfield 5 of Soucek, Salah, Son, Fernandes, and Gundogan. And I've got Watkins and Bamford up front. I've got a bench of Johnston, Kufal, Dallas, and Adams. So my current thoughts, my immediate thoughts are West Ham's fixtures. I think the next couple are okay, but their fixtures are not fantastic over a longer period of time. So I'm thinking, and as we mentioned earlier, Dallas could potentially have the double in 26 and a fixture in 29 as well. So my thought at the moment is to take out Adams and Kufal for Calvert-Lewin and Digne, which I can do comfortably, which will give me an 11 of Martinez, Diaz, Cancelo, Justin, Digne, Soucek, Salah, Son, Fernandes, Gundogan, Watkins, and Calvert-Lewin. It would mean putting Bamford on the bench, which is kind of why I mentioned that earlier. I do think.
Would you bench Soucek against Liverpool?
No. I'm going to bench. It would be. Oh yes. Oh no.
I mean, I know you're trying to get ahead of the curve. So it looks like you're starting 12 men.
I'm gonna have to have a think about the benching, about that 11th benching. It would either be, oh goodness me, it would either be Soucek or
Justin
or Watkins.
100%. The ceiling for Watkins higher than Justin for me.
No, agree.
I think Leeds will score. So I think Leicester will win and Leeds will score. That would be my prediction.
If I
I
was
think just
to if I was to call it now, I would put Soucek on the bench, which is
yeah.
but that starting 11 for me would be so good that I don't think I would have Soucek and Bamford on the bench, and Dallas, but my 11 would be superb. I think. And it moves me on forward, right? So I'll be getting in Calvert-Lewin and Digne for these games. They'll be low owned, and I'm hopefully over these next four expecting biggish things. So that's in my head at the moment. Obviously, we've still got all this evening and tomorrow morning to actually get to my final decision and really, really kind of think about it. But that is what I'm thinking about at the moment. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, so I think your midfield, your two problem players. I think your problem player is Adams, isn't it? That's the big one. So I think Adams to Calvert-Lewin makes sense, and then you could potentially, if you wanted Antonio next week, you could make that move. So yeah, I think Adams to Calvert-Lewin is a no-brainer. Have you got, was it 2 frees or 1 free?
One.
It'd be another hit.
One
yeah.
Hit, yeah.
I don't think I would. I don't think I'd take a hit for Luca Dean, because the only reason I wouldn't is straight away you're wiping out the clean sheet, and stranger things have happened. So therefore, you can pretty much, let's say that Justin +4 matches Luca Dean. He might get an assist or he might get a clean sheet, but then Justin's just as capable, or he's capable anyway. So therefore, you're looking, if you've taken out the Newcastle game, you're looking at, is it Leeds, Man United, Fulham? Yeah, I can see why you're doing it. And I think you definitely do the Calvert-Lewin one. And it gives you a bit of a benching headache as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, but as we've said at the moment, in these times, having a strong bench is not the worst thing. Although I would say that
but you'd have a strong bench either way, wouldn't you? You'd
exactly.
have a playing bench either way, wouldn't you? So.
Exactly. Antonio, I obviously really want Antonio, right? But I can't just. I'm struggling to take out Watkins or Bamford. Bamford is the one, he's very, very popular to take out this week for Antonio, for Calvert-Lewin, but to me Bamford he just isn't not spent yet. He's still got points and goals in him, I think, and it fixtures actually. So after this next, after the game they play now against Leicester, the next two are home to Everton, home to Palace as well, which are probably quite decent in terms of attacking. There I am, I'm saying about Bamford against Digne there, but the Palace game especially, I don't just want to move players around because West Ham have got Liverpool, right? And everyone's saying in the chat, and they're probably right. Soucek and Antonio will have a field day against a team with no centre backs, but Liverpool in these big games tend to find a way to defend really well and play really well. And look against Spurs last night. That the second half, especially without Kane, Spurs did not have a sniff apart from that. Højbjerg rocket from outside the box.
I think West Ham will score.
I think they'll score, but I can't see anyone hauling. If Antonio scores against 8 or 9 points, fine. But if Bamford scores against Leicester, he'd probably get the same as well.
Yeah, so agreed. I wouldn't bring your Antonio in this week. You go Calvert-Lewin, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm just not in a massive rush. And the next two, then they're away to Villa and away to Fulham. Then, so as I say, West Ham. I'm not not in a massive rush. I've got Soucek already. Who's there and who's he's a massive threat. So and if you look at the other players I've got talking about playing as well, Salah, Bruno, Gundogan, Watkins, Calvert-Lewin, Cancelo, Justin, all these players are very proven FPL assets. So quite happy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think you're in a strong position. I think if you like getting ahead of the curve, so I think I can see why you would want to make that move, and I think there'll be with Kane's injury, there might be a few hits flying around this week. So yeah, I think you'll be nicely set up anyway for the next few weeks as well, won't you?
Geo Boys in the chat says just do Calvert-Lewin for Adams, Fergie, and I think I might. That's the move I'm definitely doing. Because if I do that, I can then play Soucek, and I'll be playing a 3-5-2 with a really strong team.
What's really interesting, you've tried to talk me into an extra -4, and I've tried to talk you out of a -4.
Is it?
Interesting. And I don't even think I'm a particularly cautious player, but yeah, that's quite an interesting.
Well, this is why I always, and I give really good credit actually to you and our watchers, because I always like to talk through my team, and in the end, I always seem to get to a position which I've had 6 greens on the bounce now, which for me is pretty good, so I can appreciate that. But I do give an awful lot of credit to yourself and to our watchers as well, kind of steer me with all my crazy ideas of -12s and -8s. We always kind of get to the nub of it and make that change.
Yeah,
and that's really helped.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad -4, but it's one that may pay off. It may not.
Exactly.
It's effectively wiping out the clean sheet. That's how I would see it.
No, that's fair. That's really fair.